after the whistle starts at Bellwood, where this happened. Quarterback Eli Muther of Central Dauphin throws a bomb down the sideline to wide receiver Jackson Dunn. We may not have that breakaway speed, but says, "Get off me," to those two Blue Devils defenders to muscle his way into the end zone. Would that be enough for the Dragons, though, to hold off Bellwood Antis? I'm Tim Rogers. We'll have more on that game and others from tonight's Friday Night Lights around District 6.
And I'm Justin Chevalier. The Nittany Lions left the Blue Hens well feeling pretty blue. We'll take a look at Penn State's win against Delaware this past Saturday and preview the Lions' road game against Illinois. All that and more coming up on After the Whistle. Our game of the week is a matchup we've seen here before. Little Lions versus Mountain Lions, as Altoona traveled to face State High in a battle to see which Lion roars louder. No score after the first quarter. First, we'll let State High get out onto the field. That's when we pick things up in the second. Brennan Freewald hits Julian Hazelwood. 23-yard touchdown for the score. Altoona goes up 7-0. 2 minutes later, State College's Eddie Corkery connects with wideout Michael Gall on a fade to tie things up at 7-7. 5 minutes left in the first half. It'll be a familiar name. Deontay Sheffy takes the Wildcat snap, runs into the end zone. State College up 14-7. Still in the second quarter, State High starts rolling. It's Corkery. Wide open Demir Code. He's tackled at the 1. State High would score 2 plays later. Now once more for good measure at the end of the first half. Corkery connects again to Code, who will break free. Safe to say he found the right code right there. 51-yard touchdown. State College would go up 27-7 on that score. They'd go on to win 49-7. They'll look to keep their momentum next week at Central. The Mountain Lions fall to 2-2 while the Little Lions advance to 2-1. Altoona plays Central Dauphin East next week at home, and State High will travel to play Central Dauphin. Our Game of the Week reporter Matt Cabram was there for the rivalry. Matt, what did you see in that game?
Well, you saw the highlights. Altoona scored first, State High scored next, and then often, and then this looked like safe at halftime. State High was under early adversity in the first quarter, being held scoreless under their own lights, especially after a tough start to the season. What turned the page was the plethora of offensive playmakers swinging the tides of the game. I spoke with junior quarterback Eddie Corkery on how him and his squad were able to adapt to changes after being held scoreless after a quarter by Altoona. Corkery stated that he trusts every player on his offensive line to find the open play to make the difference on the field. I then caught up with two-way player Demir Code on his momentum-changing touchdown in the last minute of the first half. Code said it was huge to get the ball just before the end of the half, and it was big for Eddie Corkery to trust him enough to find that space and find the end zone. I then caught up with head coach Matt Lintel about how much different his team is now compared to the beginning of the season, especially with conference play up next. Lintel said it was big due to the fact last week's game was canceled, and it was a bummer that his boys didn't get a chance to play, but they performed dominantly tonight at Memorial Field. The Little Lions had plenty of playmakers on the field tonight, which resulted in a 42-7 victory over their rivals against Altoona. The Little Lions will continue their build on their success and take that forward to new heights. Reporting in the studio, I'm Matt Cabram. Now back to you, Tim.
Thanks, Matt. I guess the Little Lions roar louder than Mountain Lions. Penns Valley traveled to Phillipsburg, Osceola tonight. Both of these teams are coming off losses from last week. As you can see here, Phillipsburg Osceola has not been able to defeat the Rams in over 11 years, giving them some extra motivation coming into this one. We're going to take it here early in the first quarter as Archer Ballman, he's going to find Sam McDonald E-I-E-I-O-ing his way into the end zone there to put the Mountaineers up 7-0 here in the first quarter. We're going to take it now to the second quarter, tied at 7. And that's going to be Jacody Jones. He's going to barge his way into the end zone to take a 14-7 lead for the Mountaineers. We're going to now look here, regressing into the rest of the first half. That's a fumble. That's right. Jacody Jones, he's going to pick it up and score himself again as the Mountaineers will extend their lead. Now we're going to go, that's right, a kick return touchdown. John Meyer, he's going to find his way into the end zone as the Rams are going to bring this one back to just a one-possession game. And here, we're going to get a little bit late there, but Jackson Roaming, his pass is all the way to John Mayer again. The extra point is missed, and now it's going to be a 23-21 game here after the kick is good for the field goal attempt. And now less than 1 minute left. We have Arthur Bauman. He's going to throw an interception to Jarrett Stover. And that's going to bring this one to an end as the Rams will add the last score of the game. And they would take the 43-32 lead, which would be the final score of this one. Phillipsburg Osceola fought a hard battle, but ultimately could not stay toe-to-toe with the Rams from Penns Valley, as they would fall for the 12th year in a row. The Mountaineers will take on Bald Eagle Area High School next week.
Bald Eagle hosting Tyrone at home this week. It was a 28-23 win over Penns Valley last week for Bald Eagle, which was featured in After the Whistle's Game of the Week. It's Bald Eagle running out onto their home field, knocking on the door on their first drive. Cameron Dubbs, tough physical run. Did he cross the goal line? Eventually the referee will say yes, 7-0 Bald Eagle. Then it's Dubbs again, punches it in to make it 14-0 right outside. Now up 21-0, it'll be Ashton Walk finding Brady Ronan 61 yards to the house. Lots of big plays this week. That one made it 21-6. The extra point was missed. Ashton Walk now again. He's going to run outside the pocket, scrambling for his life. Heaves a throw to the back of the end zone. Caught by A.J. Coleman over two defenders. Made it 21-13. But Cameron Dubbs, he would answer again. Bald Eagle would go up 27-19. Dubbs' fourth touchdown of the night right there. And his team, well, they'd get the dub. 41-22. Bald Eagle won in the battle to see which Eagle could soar higher. It was the Eagles from Bald Eagle taking down the Golden Eagles from Tyrone. Tyrone suffers its third loss of the season, falling to 1-3. They'll look to bounce back next week against Bellwood Antis in the backyard brawl. Bald Eagle continues to fly high with an undefeated 5-0 start to their season.
Now let's take a look at some of the other teams around District 6. Central Cambria swept Greater Johnstown 20-0, and Lower Dauphin beat Mifflin County on the road 20-14.
Hollidaysburg defeated Butler 33-13, while Penn Cambria eked out a win against Bedford 21-19.
How about Richland? They took the victory over Bishop McCourt 35-16, and West Branch fell to Mount Union 50-27. The BG Marauders welcomed Huntington tonight. BG hosting Huntington on homecoming night. Congrats to the king and queen there, but we're going to take it up here, as that's right, the halfback here, Ashton Steele. He's going to throw one down to Tyler Long. Look at him using his lanky body, making a couple men miss. He's going to bumble all the way down into BG territory. And now the Bearcats on fourth down. They got the opportunity to score here. Who are they going to give it to? Evan Edmonston. He's going to, look at him dive for the pylon there. Love the effort as the Bearcats are now down 25-20. But BG, you know they're going to respond with Case Kissel at the quarterback. He's going to find Hamilton Gates, who's going to walk into the end zone there. It's going to be a loud lead for BG 32-20, and they would take that momentum and win the game 53-20. Bearcats fall to 1-3 on the season and will take on Clearfield next week. BG improves to 4-1 on the year and will look for their fifth win next week when they visit Central.
The Central Dragons are breathing fire, scoring at least 42 points in their first 3 games this season. Tonight, they traveled to Bellwood Antis, and the story was no different. You'll see Bellwood Antis warming up here, but on the first drive, looks like Central is going to be stopped when Hunter Smith fakes the punt. He takes it to himself, picks up the first down and more, setting up Central with a new set of downs later in the drive. Smith punches it in for the Dragons to go up 7-0. Now the Blue Devil will try to get his team back into it, but that won't happen. You've seen this play before. Eli Muther goes deep to Jack Dunn, but Dunn was not done. There goes one defender. Wait for it. There goes another. And Dunn goes 60-plus yards to the house. 21-7, Central leads. Now 2 minutes left in quarter 2. Bellwood Antis looks like they might get some momentum as Chase Schreier intercepts the throw and takes it into good field position. But the Blue Devils will give it right back on a turnover of their own. It's a fumble. Central regain the momentum and the ball, and they would go on to win 41-20 over Bellwood Antis. Central remains undefeated, going 4-0 now on the season. The Dragons will play the Bishop Guilfoyle Marauders next week. Bellwood Antis is now 0-4 and still looking for their first win. They're going to host Tyrone next Friday in the Backyard Brawl. Bellefonte hosts Clearfield on a senior night. It's going to be Bellefonte home, and then there is Clearfield undefeated. Clearfield first drive of the game. Will D'Amico with a rushing yard from 8 yards out. Clearfield strikes first. They would miss the extra point. It's 6-0. Now 1:45 to go in the second. It's Carter Freeland bouncing it to the outside. He breaks free, and that land is the touchdown. It is a 2-point conversion miss again. 12-0 for the Bison. 14 seconds of game time later, Bellefonte responds. Liam Halterman launches a bomb to Robbie Slagan. 71 yards to the house. 12-7 going into halftime, but Bellefonte's momentum would be squashed quickly. A bad snap leaves it to be a scoop and score by Carter Freeland. 20-7 advantage after the 2-point conversion was made. Now, Clearfield goes for the onside kick. They got it back, and now D'Amico, he'll get his third touchdown of the game. 45-yard house call for Clearfield. They'll continue to dominate, take the 26-7 lead. The Bison would hold on to win 26-7. Clearfield now moves to 3-1 on the season, heading home to take on Huntington. As for Bellefonte, win number 1 has to wait until at least next week, with the Red Raiders heading out to Spring Mills to take on Penns Valley.
The past 2 weeks have seen 2 football players in our region collapse on the field and find themselves in critical condition. The high school football community is rallying around both of these players this week with different ways to show their support. State High sold t-shirts that say "For Max" to pay tribute to the Jersey Shore defensive lineman, with proceeds going to his family. Other teams around our area also paid tribute to Angle by wearing orange ribbons, t-shirts, and all sorts of accessories to their games this week, along with a number 2 on the back of a helmet. In addition to Martin and Angle last week, 5 other Pennsylvania players had to be rushed to the hospital after sustaining serious injuries, according to other outlets. All of us here at After a Whistle extend our thoughts and prayers out to these families and their loved ones. We will be back from the break. Hello, and welcome back to After the Whistle, brought to you by Com Radio, Center County Report, and Penn State's chapter of Awesome.
Let's rewind to Saturday when Penn State took on Delaware at home inside of Beaver Stadium. Our reporter John Drager was there and has more.
Week 2 for Penn State gives them a date with the Delaware Blue Hens. From kickoff, it was all about one thing: running the football. The game opened up with a 60-yard drive that ended with a 2-yard run for running back Nicholas Singleton for 6. That would mark one of 3 touchdowns for the 2022 Big Ten Freshman of the Year. Katron Allen pitched in a 4-yard touchdown run later in the first quarter. Both Drew Aller and Bo Prabula had a passing touchdown and a rushing touchdown in the 63-7 win. Head coach James Franklin was appreciative of the offense being as successful as they were.
We were able to stay on the field. We were able to sustain drives. We were able to convert on 3rd down, converted a few times on 4th down.
With the success of the running game, Franklin doesn't see one running back on top of the other.
We have 2 starting tailbacks. We'll see how that goes week to week based on preparation, throughout the week.
Many options on offense can make a defense scramble. That gives quarterback Drew Aller a sense of optimism under center.
You can never have too many weapons on offense, and just all the different personnel groupings we can pair with it, make the defense have a hard time adjusting with motions. So it's definitely going to be something that we're going to take great pride in and help us throughout our future.
Penn State looks ahead to Champaign to take on an Illinois team struggling to defend the run. with the Illini giving up over 150 yards on the ground in their first 2 games of the season. Reporting in State College, I'm John Drager for After the Whistle.
Thanks, John. Well, now it's time to look forward. Penn State is hitting the road for its first conference game against Illinois, and as James Franklin likes to say, they're trying just to go 1-0. Our Carlos Garcia tells us what to expect this week.
In front of another packed home crowd, the Nittany Lions beat up on Delaware 63-7 on Saturday. Now, Penn State turns its focus to the Big Ten opener, on the road against Illinois.
We're just experts of opening on the road, whether it's the first game, the second game, the third game, the fourth game. Not only in my 10 years, but I think over the last 15 years, we're experts. I think we're going to put an off-season clinic.
Illinois is coming off a 24-23 loss to Kansas, in which they allowed 262 rushing yards. Penn State will look to continue a ground and pound offense. Against Delaware, running back Nicholas Singleton scored a hat trick of touchdowns, while his backfield partner Katron Allen rushed for over 100 yards.
Those guys have bought in to the idea that we have 2 starting tailbacks. We'll see how that goes week to week based on preparation, throughout the week.
But Illinois is no walk in the park for the Nittany Lions. Last time these 2 squads faced off, Penn State battled injuries and the elements, and everything and anything went wrong. 2 years ago, Penn State was 5-1 at the time, but ran into rain and injuries. The Fighting Illini fought their way to a 20-18 9-overtime thriller. But with some new faces and coaches, the blue and white hope it's a different outcome on the road.
Yeah, we studied your normal 2-point play situations and overtime situations, but not necessarily back from 2021 in that game.
In University Park, I'm Carlos Garcia for After the Whistle.
Well, thanks, Carlos. The Nittany Lions look to outfight the Fighting Illini tomorrow starting at noon. You can catch all the action live on Com Radio with After the Whistle's very own Adam Sheets and Mac Young on the headsets, starting with their pregame show at 11.
From Penn State back to State High, the 1973 State High champions took to the Memorial Field to celebrate the 50th anniversary of their undefeated season. This is the only State College team to have ever won the Pennsylvania State Championship. They beat Pittsburgh Central Catholic 37-26 in front of a full crowd at Old Memorial Field. According to PA Football News, both teams were undefeated heading into the matchup, but these little Lions claimed victory. Well, Justin, a championship victory, a state championship victory for football. You ever hear that on a Long Island where we're from?
I've never heard that on Long Island. Bagels? Possibly.
Pizza? Maybe.
Matching ties?
Absolutely. Well, that's all the time that we have here for week 4. Join us next week as we continue to talk about all things District 6. I'm Tim Rogers.
And I'm Justin Chevalella. Thank you for catching up with us on high school football action right here on After the Whistle.